Most holy and righteous Father Yahweh, this is your servant Yisrayl Hawkins coming to you in unity with your man here, Father Yahweh. All of us asking to approach a great throne of mercy under the headship and the authority of our pastor and overseer, Yisrayl Hawkins, and through by the authority of our righteous high priest, Yahshua Messiah. Father Yahweh, we do bless you and thank you for this opportunity to continue to rehearse the words of your great witness, Father, as we continue to learn your ways. We do pray and ask that you purify our hearts and our minds and allow us to grow in your great house and to be a part of this great work forever. We do bless you and ask for your inspiration daily, and we do ask for your mercy and your protection. In Yahshua Messiah's name, we do pray and ask all of these things. Hallelujah, Yahweh. Praise Yahweh. Man, you may be seated. We're going to start here on page 83, and there's someone out there book. We're going to start here at the top, and I do want to just acknowledge the fact that this is it's an excellent book to read. Considering how Father Yahweh created the heavens and the earth, how he created mankind, and just a glimpse of what we can see as far as in the heavens and the creation of Yahweh, and just a glimpse of the human potential. Pastor really expounds on these things in this book, and gives us something to look forward to. And so we're going to take a look at some of these things this evening and through the course of this book, because pursuing the character of Yahweh and looking forward towards the kingdom of Yahweh, we should have great hope knowing what Yahweh wants to accomplish within us, and the authority that he wants to give mankind to make sure that the universe is operating efficiently with peace abounding all over the place. So, as we go through this book, just remember the plan of Yahweh and how he wants to turn things over to his family so that everyone can enjoy life. So here at the top of page 83, it says that there is proof that evolution is a false theory. I always get a chuckle out of evolution because they want us to believe that we were like monkeys or something like that, or like amoebas that crawled out. Then from an explosion, all life was created. And so I'm thinking like maybe the goal for launching nuclear weapons all over the world is like after every explosion there will be new life. So when things blow up, there's life behind it. I mean, I guess that's what they think, because that's what they're saying with the Big Bang Theory. Life came from it, but there hasn't been any proof that life comes after an explosion. Not like a fully operational human being anyway. There's no proof to that. But this is the foolishness that goes on in the minds of those who don't know Yahweh. But let's read here. It says, the theory of evolution is man's best attempt thus far at answering questions concerning the creation of the universe, especially the earth and mankind. With absolutely no proof to support this unscriptural theory, it is nothing more than speculation, a feeble attempt to explain what is incomprehensible to those who do not believe or trust in the most reliable source of knowledge known to man, the inspired Holy Scriptures. Yet, some of the world's most educated men have for years and still continue to teach evolution to our children, deceiving them into believing that the universe just occurred by some freak accident. Now, reading that, we should remember what we covered in the last book, Did Yahshua Messiah Pre-Exist? And all of the theories, the theologians, and all of these wise and educated men who had theories about creation and so on and so forth, and the pre-existence of a Savior. But one of the things that I remember reading in that book is how it said that they chose to take a rational approach to life, using reasoning and trying to rationalize things opposed to looking towards the authority. And the authority is Yahweh. Yahweh created the heavens and the earth, but that's for the believers. That's for us. We know these things. We don't have to look to science or try to listen to philosophers try to explain creation. They have no clue because they've taken Yahweh out of it. They've taken Yahweh out of it. In fact, let's take a look at Romans chapter 1 here. Romans chapter 1 and verse 21, it says, but that when they knew Yahweh, they did not glorify him as Father, nor were thankful, but became idolatrous God worshippers. In their reasoning and their minds, their senseless minds were darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, simpletons, and exchanged the glory of the uncorruptible Father for images made to resemble corruptible man and birds, four-footed beasts, and creeping things. Therefore, Yahweh gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own minds, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who exchanged the truth of Yahweh for the lie, the lords, the gods, the goddesses, and demons, and worshiped and served creation. So they served the creation rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Hallelujah, Yahweh, praise Yahweh. And so I wanted to make sure that I read that, because as we continue in here, we'll see how mankind actually turned to the gods and they stopped serving Yahweh. But this isn't something new. This has been going on from the beginning, how they turned away from Father Yahweh and started serving the things that he created, because they did understand the blessings that we received from the heavens, that Yahweh created to support and to help sustain life on earth. These things were created for man. It says here that, continuing on page 83, scientists now admit that there is an exact pattern in the visible universe rather than a random concoction formed by some kind of accident like the Big Bang Theory suggests. By compiling computer images of certain cross-sections of the visible universe, scientists and astronomers have discovered that galaxies are arranged in the heavens in different patterns. Margaret Geller and John Hutra are two pioneers in this field of astronomy, and the image below shows what they have found. And so you can see the image there at the bottom of the book. And here it says that galaxies are not randomly distributed. They cluster together in enormous walls that span hundreds of millions of light years. These vast concentration, what is that? I can't see that word. Well, anyway, this matter, it pulls surrounding galaxies toward them, imposing localized rivers within the hourly expanding universe. And so at this point, I kind of want to just cover a few things here so that we can think about the universe itself, because the universe is an extremely large place. So just a few facts. They determine, they use the speed of light to determine distance and how long it would take to get somewhere. Like one of the closest galaxies is the Andromeda Galaxy, and they say it takes like 25 million years to get to the Andromeda Galaxy, traveling at the speed of light. And the speed of light is approximately 186,282 miles per second. It takes approximately 8 minutes and 19 seconds for light to travel from the sun to the earth, approximately 1.3 seconds for light to travel from the moon to the earth. It takes light to travel around the circumference of the earth 7.5 times in 1 second. Now, why am I saying all of this? Because this is extremely fast. Okay, to travel around the earth 7.5 times in 1 second, this is fast. Okay, and this is how they measure distance in space. How long does it take you to get in your car and drive to Walmart? Probably about 20 minutes. Can you imagine traveling through the heavens, at that pace? You wouldn't get anywhere. Okay, but here we have a measurement at the speed of light where, you can actually get places relatively fast, but still taking 25 million years to get to the closest galaxy. Okay, if you could play the tape.
E equals mc squared. It says the energy of a body, E, is proportional to its mass, m. It implies nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. You know that's C, don't you? Because it would require an infinite amount of energy so to do. What the team at CERN has seen is subatomic particles called neutrinos breaking that rule, travelling a tiny but significant fraction faster than the speed of light. They've repeated the experiment. They weren't sure. They wanted to check it. They checked it 15,000 times and brought the same result in each and every time. If their results are found to be accurate, it would turn physics on its head, say many. The question now is, has Einstein been wrong all along? David Whitehouse is alongside me. These are two massive stories. We'll get onto the space junk in a moment, which I know you feel we're underplaying. Let's talk about this speed of light story. You think it's massive?
If this is true, it is an earthquake. It's a revolution in physics. This is one of the great changes in physics, on as par with Einstein's discoveries, his theories 100 years ago, and the discovery of the quantum world. Einstein said in his special theory of relativity, nothing can travel faster than light. The only reason light travels at light speed is because it lacks what we call rest mass. Any physical object cannot get to the speed of light. And the idea that these experiments, and they're good scientists, it's a good experiment, they've looked through every aspect of their experiment to see what could account for this and can find nothing, and they've put it on the internet to other scientists to say, look, see if you can find anything. They cannot. If it is true that these strange particles called neutrinos actually
go through anything,
can go through anything. They're ghostly particles, they're difficult to make, they were created at the Large Hadron Collider, and they're fired 720 kilometers through the Earth's crust
to a laboratory that's nearly 5,000 feet underground.
That's right, to a detector that's underground to keep it quiet and still in Italy, and it got there before they thought it would, before light would.
But we're talking billionths of a second.
It doesn't matter in the sense that it doesn't matter how small it is, faster than light. The fact it is close to light or just over the speed of light changes our fundamental understanding of the way the universe works.
Time travel possible?
Yes. Everything is now open for...
I've been waiting years to ask that question, and you just say yes.
It is, because speed, time, and the speed of light are all linked, they're all relative, they're all axes around which all the laws of physics in the universe rotate, are based.
Okay.
And if we can go faster than the speed of light, then fundamentally it changes our fundamental understanding. Time travel, faster than light travel, exploration of the universe, amazing world of strange new physics opens up in front of us.
And it really is a reminder, were it necessary, that nothing's for keeps in science.
This is it. The lesson from science is, as soon as you think you've got it nailed down, as soon as you think that the Earth is the centre of the universe, that Einstein's theories are correct, that the quantum world, all these things, as soon as you're arrogant enough to think that you understand the universe comes along and shows you you're not right, and there's a new level of understanding. And there's a young generation of scientists who actually, for years, have said, we're just tidying things up. Where are the great revolutions? Well, this is their opportunity. This, if it's true, could be the great revolution they've been waiting for.
And giving aside the risk of instrument error, the point is, it doesn't matter how much quicker you go than the speed of light, it's the fact you are breaking that barrier.
That's right.
That's the key thing here.
It's the fundamental thing is that something, a neutrino of all things, that we thought we understood reasonably well, if it can travel in certain circumstances or a certain fraction of the time faster than the speed of light, the principle has been broken.
Particles can travel at the speed of light, but now scientists have discovered something that could turn the world of physics on its head. Those working here on a 3-year experiment at the European Centre for Nuclear Research found neutrinos pumped from their labs in Switzerland to Italy arrived 60 nanoseconds quicker than light would have done. Now, if that's confirmed, that would undermine Albert Einstein's long-accepted theory of special relativity that says nothing can travel faster than light. Scientists will tell you that theory is one of the key elements of the so-called Standard Model of Physics, which attempts to describe how everything in the world works. So if this new finding is right, everything we knew about the universe may have to be rethought.
What he's saying is that it doesn't matter how slightly faster that these neutrinos go than the speed of light, it does go faster than the speed of light, and it's changing everything that they know about physics. It's just change. They have to rethink about everything that they know about the universe. And so now that they've been able to see that something does go faster than the speed of light and that Albert Einstein is wrong, they have to reconsider all of these things. But basically the point that I wanted to make is that, the world is not looking to Yahweh for the answer. So, when they find new things, they're amazed. But these things have been in the scriptures for a long time. Who remembers Pastor actually saying that there is something that's faster than the speed of light? There is travel faster than the speed of light. Anyone remember him saying that? Yeah, and he just termed it like instant travel. And he gave us several examples of this. And in the scriptures, if you remember, Yeshua went to the third heavens, right? He ascended to the third heavens, and he was back in the same day. And if you want to look at that, that's in Yochanan chapter 20. Let's read it. Let's just go ahead and read it. It's in Yochanan chapter 20. Let's look at verse 17. It says, Yeshua said to her, and this was after the resurrection here. Yeshua said to her, do not touch me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brothers and tell them I am ascending to my Father and your Father, who is my power and your power. And in verse 19, it says, then the same day toward evening, being still the first day of the week, when the disciples had locked the doors of the place where they were because of the fear of the Yada'im, Yeshua came and stood in the midst and said to them, peace be to you. And if you remember, pastors, when he was explaining this to us, he went through great detail to show us that, he went to the third heavens. He went to Yahweh Shema, to the third heavens, and then he came back all in the same day. Now think about traveling at the speed of light. It's relatively slow compared to what Yeshua just accomplished here, because even if Yahweh Shema was in the visible heavens here, which is the second heavens, the closest galaxy would be 25 million light years away. Okay, 25 million light years away. So consider what Yahweh's showing us here, this great authority, this great ability that Yahweh wants to put in mankind. And that's just traveling. That's just traveling, going to the third heavens and then coming back in the same day. It takes like 27 hours to drive to New Jersey. And that's just in the United States. So, with the vastness of the heavens and the work that we have to do, we're going to have to be able to get around. But these are small things, to those who believe in Yahweh. But look at how excited science is. Oh, there's something faster than light. Okay, praise Yahweh. But what we're focused on is becoming like Yahweh, because we want to live, not know that there's, not the great mysteries to the universe, so to speak, hey, neutrinos and blah, blah. Yeah, these things are exciting, but the fact that we know Yahweh and we know the creator of these things is even more exciting to me than actually finding these things out, because we know that Yahweh created all things. And it's only a matter of time, to those who qualify for certain things could actually see, I know some of the Kahans is like, man, Yahweh created grass. What actually makes the grass grow and the different things that it takes just to sustain life? Just a blade of grass. Imagine if there was no grass on earth. It would affect all life on earth. Imagine if there was no wind, no trees, or just take something out away from earth. It affects all the creation. This is the mind of Yahweh that puts all of these things together. All right, but now what we're talking about, there's someone out there. So let's get off planet Earth and get back out into the universe here. Because this stuff is exciting. We could talk about this on and on and on, and I won't get anything read tonight, and I'd be in trouble. Continuing on page 84 here, it says that the October 1996 issue of Astronomy Magazine is an article entitled Dark Matter and the Fate of the Universe shows us more information. Below is the illustration. The artist is Lynette Cook, accompanying the article on the next page. If you have ever seen an illustration showing the pattern that is made when information is being passed to and dispersed within the human conscious and subconscious mind, you will notice an amazing resemblance with the pattern seen in this photo. And that's because the whole universe is connected to a central location from which information can be dispersed and received. Both the universe and the human mind were created by the same being. Does anyone want to take a guess at who that might be? No one wants to guess? It's Yahweh. You don't have to guess. You know the answer. Let's look at Isaiah. Let's take a look at Isaiah 49. Let's take a look at Isaiah 49. No, excuse me. Let's look at Isaiah 45. Verse 11 is on page 559. It says, "This is what Yahweh, the Holy One of Yisrael and Yisrael's Maker, says. Ask me about the things that are coming. Ask me about my sons or the work of my hands, which I have given command. I have made the earth and created man upon it. I, even my hands, have stretched out the heavens, and all their hosts I have commanded." Over in verse 18 it says, "For this is what Yahweh, who created the heavens, who is the Father, who formed the earth and made it, who has established it, who did not create it in vain, who formed it to be inhabited, says, I am Yahweh, and there is no other source of power." And see, in this dark matter, what we're about to go into, they're saying that there's something holding the universe together. There's something holding the universe together. There's something at work that they don't understand. Okay? But it's all right here in the scriptures. Yahweh says, I am the only source of power. I created the heavens and the earth. I established it. You know, remember in the book of Job when he was being questioned and they said, well, can you explain how the earth is suspended upon nothing? You know, can you command the lightning bolt? Can you do all of these things? Do you know the ordinances of heaven? Can you control them? You know, all of these are the things that are in the Holy Scriptures, and science still cannot explain these things. Okay? But who explains these things thoroughly? The witness Israel. Okay? Because he is the one sent by Yahweh to make sure that we understand these things. Verse 19, I have not spoken in secret in a dark place of the earth. I did not say to the seed of Jacob, seek me in vain. I, Yahweh, speak righteousness. I openly speak things that are right. And then it goes on. But basically, it's telling us that we need to seek Yahweh. All of our answers come from Yahweh. He is the one that created these things. And, you know, if we want any answers, it only comes from the one that makes it. Okay? You can't come to me and ask me about how to make a vehicle. I just know how to put gas in it to keep the tires aired up. You know, when I need help, I'll go to those who know how to deal with those kind of things. So if I want salvation in life, you know, there's only one place where you need to go, and that's the house of Yahweh, because it's the only place that's authorized to bring forth this information. So it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. So let's go into this article on page 85 concerning dark matter and the fate of the universe. To paraphrase Voltaire, if dark matter did not exist, it would have to be invented, for without its gravitational glue, the universe would literally have scattered soon after the Big Bang, and the beautiful reticular structure of galaxy clusters seen throughout the universe today would have never been forged. In the 1930s, astronomers studying the motions of galaxies and clusters noted that, given their observed velocities and apparent masses, these vast structures should have dispersed long ago. Apparently, something had retained a vice-like grip on them, keeping them assembled. A similar situation was observed at smaller scales in spiral galaxies beginning in the 1970s. Spirals rotate just as fast on the outskirts of their visible disks as they do near their inner regions. How can they do this without flying apart? In just this year, studies of the motion of a satellite dwarf galaxy orbiting the Milky Way show that it has maintained its shape after billions of years. How is this possible, since many dwarf galaxies are little more than extremely loose aggregates of stars? This inescapable conclusion is that visible matter constitutes a small minority of the universe, making up anywhere between 1 and 10% of its total mass. That means that at least 90 and as much as 99% of the universe exists in some alternate form of matter that has yet to be directly detected. So they know that there's something out there holding these things together, but they have no clue to what it is. On galactic scales, then each galaxy must be fixed in its own block of dark matter resin. Like a mosquito in amber, while on cosmological scales, galaxy clusters are to sea foam as dark matter is to the ocean. The quest for dark matter is one of the most important tasks in cosmology today. It literally determines the density, or perhaps I should say destiny, of the universe. For it is the density of the universe that is critical in determining whether the galaxies will recede from each other forever, or at some point in the remote future halt their outward flow and fall back together. If the universe contains enough dark matter, that will do the trick. But one can't very well determine whether the universe will expand forever or collapse without accounting for 90 to 99% of its contents. So see, they don't even know what's going to take place. Is the universe going to continue to expand, or is it going to collapse in on itself? What's going to take place? You know, call and ask at Abel. Ask at Abel and you will have an answer. Okay? Okay, they're still not calling it, but they will be asking here at Abel really soon, because the answer has already been given. Okay, and we'll see that in some of these words here later on in this chapter here. But continuing on, it says that it seems absurd that astronomy, the oldest science, cannot tell us what the universe is made up of. Nevertheless, what you see of the universe from your backyard is a modicum of what it contains. As the research continues and the observations accumulate, we can only hope that scientists will one day bring the nature of dark matter to light. After all, the very fate of the universe depends on it. Ooh. So if these guys don't figure out what's going on in the universe, we're in trouble. I mean, that's what it's saying. I mean, the fate of the universe depends on these guys figuring out what's going to take place. Well, my trust is not in man. Okay? Not in the sciences of this world. You see here it says dark matter has to be brought to light. Okay? I'm thinking of what it says in 1 Yochanan chapter 1. If I could find it real quick. In verse 5, it says, "This is the message which you have heard from him who declared to you that Yahweh is light. Okay? And in him is no darkness, which is evil or falsehood or deception at all." So they want these things brought to light, but they actually reject the light. They actually reject Yahweh, who can actually give them the understanding, so they're not groping around in the dark searching for answers. The answers are in the Holy Scriptures, but just like we read earlier in rehearsing from the Yeshua Messiah pre-exist, they want to rationalize these things. They'd rather look at it and try to reason these things out, opposed to, seeking Yahweh, seeking the authority of the matter, instead of seeking the one who created these things. So, like we read here, they rejected in Romans chapter 1, they rejected Yahweh and they served creation, just denying the authority that Yahweh has. Turn to page 86 here. At the top it says, "Also notice what astronomer George Gatewood had to say in the October 1996 issue of Astronomy magazine. A nearby extrasolar planet, one of the closest stars to Earth, might be orbited by a Jupiter-mass planet. The star is only 8.25 light years from Earth. It races across the sky at 4.78 arc seconds per year. Only a handful of stars move faster. Observations of the star dating back 50 years indicate that it has speeded up and slowed down during this period, as if a low-mass orbiting companion was pulling it along and then holding it back. But recently, extremely high precision observations by George Gatewood and colleagues at the Allegheny Observatory in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, strongly suggested that the star's velocity is indeed changing over time. Quote, "I'm pretty sure there must be something causing a significant change in velocity," says Gatewood. "When science is honest and works hard enough, it will eventually prove man's theories false and Yahweh's inspired words truth. It takes a tremendous amount of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to create something from nothing. It takes a lot of scientific knowledge just to build from things that already exist, or find cures for illnesses that arise from the wrong kind of living. Even with all of the scientific knowledge that is compiled in the world's greatest computers, mankind cannot create something from nothing. But that's what Yahweh did in creating all the planets, both those seen and those unseen. Yet, we want to believe and teach that there is no one in the universe smarter than mankind. But now there is scientific proof that there is a being with far more superior intelligence than mankind, just as the Holy Scripture said. For instance, like traveling. Up until not too long ago, they thought that, again, light was the fastest mode of travel. But the men of Yahweh know that there is a faster way of travel, as shown in the Holy Scriptures. But like Pastor said, if they're honest and they work hard, they'll come to understand these things. The creation of the Malachim who became gods. Yahweh, without a doubt, is the creator of all things. As we have been shown in the Holy Scriptures, these same Scriptures show us that He is the creator of the Malachim, and that He gave them certain governing positions with power and authority after He created them, so they could keep in order the many mechanics of the universe. It should be noted that in all of Yahweh's creation, He not only gave life, but He also created within each being, large or small, even down to the tiniest insect, the ability to have a joyous life, just as mankind we can see this fact of life everywhere upon the earth, on the land, in the sea, and in the air. Take a look at the wild creatures around us and notice how they can actually play and have fun with one another. Take a look at the wild creatures around us. Next sentence. We see wild creatures who not only hunt and feed, but who also also court, mate, and frolic with one another and with their young. Yahweh put within the Malachim the same ability to live joyous lives. In fact, just as mankind has desires, hopes, and dreams, so do the Malachim and flies. Also within the Malachim, like mankind, is the okay. Also within the Malachim, like mankind, is the presence of lust, which is needful, although it must be controlled for righteousness, for righteous use only. Lust, desire, and even ambition are all needful, for in these are found the pull, the motivation that draws us to having special love for one another. In these are found the constant urge to serve and to make our lives worth living. But when it is not controlled, it leads to sin and then trouble among the people. Tragically, as mankind, many of the Malachim do not control their lust. It was this uncontrolled lust that led Lucifer to sin. And it was the same uncontrolled lust that led the first sons of Yahweh to sin. And it was this same uncontrolled lust that brought trespassing and eventually destruction to the earth before mankind was ever created. Now, just think about what we just read here, because, you know, we want to be a part of Yahweh's kingdom. We want to be a part of Yahweh's eternal administration. We want to be able to teach the laws of Yahweh, the character of Yahweh. You know, we want to be a part of the plan of Yahweh as we know it. And so, looking at what Yahweh is setting before us, you know, within us there's a desire to be a part of it, and it drives us. It determines how hard are we going to study, how hard are we going to overcome sin, how hard are we going to try to put, you know, the things that we've been taught in our lives as far as the uncontrolled lust, how hard are we going to suppress those things? You know, this desire to be a part of Yahweh's kingdom. You know, it should be a strong desire within each and every one of us to build the character of Yahweh within each and every one of us, so that sin would never, ever, ever enter into the world again. And so going through what we're going through, the tests, the trials, you know, Yahweh's building within us his character. And we have to see the full extent of sin so that we can see, you know, Father Yahweh, I never, ever, ever want to see people blowing themselves up again just to take vengeance on, you know, another group of people. You know, I mean, families are losing their children, you know, due like car bombings and kidnappings and all of these things. People are suffering because they don't know Yahweh. And this is one of the things that we're learning how to do. We're learning how to be like Yahweh so that we can eliminate these things and actually teach them, look, your children don't have to die because there's a disagreement. Because you disagree with this person over here, no one has to lose their life. There's a peaceful solution. And the peaceful solution is definitely praise Yahweh, is definitely developing a character that's going to actually, you know, sustain life and teach others how to sustain their lives. You know, there has to be a way to eliminate these things, and it's taught here at the house of Yahweh. Okay, but what part are we as individuals going to play in this? You know, and if you have a desire to play a part in it, then we need to be applying ourselves a little bit more diligently. We have to be like Yahweh in order to help people. Because, you know, I couldn't help people 15, 20 years ago, you know, before I came to the house of Yahweh. Couldn't do it. You know, the only thing that I can do is show them a quicker way to the grave. That was it. That's all I was qualified for. I didn't know how to help people lead them to life. I couldn't teach them anything about Yahweh. You know, I didn't become a benefit to someone else until I came to the house of Yahweh and learned how to. Okay? And then it started with me. I had to learn how to change myself first. Now, I can't teach someone else how to do something if I'm not learning it and applying it myself. So remember what Yeshua said, get the beam out of your own eye first, and then help your brother with the speck in his. Well, he's the one that has the beam. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. You won't even acknowledge your own faults and problems. So how can you help someone else? You know, we have to make changes in ourselves. And even if we don't say a word, our example should speak volumes concerning the right and proper way to conduct ourselves. We don't have to always open up our mouth to help someone. And sometimes we think that we do. You know, sometimes we cause more problems by opening up our mouth. You know, we need to be great examples practicing and living according to the way that we're taught at the great house of Yahweh. So continuing on here, about the third paragraph down. It was necessary for Yahweh to have put within the Malachim all these attributes and to have given them their great powers, because they are not only necessary for the job of living for every living creature, they are also necessary for guiding and maintaining the whole galaxy. Yahweh shows that it was He who gave offices and ranks to the Malachim for the purpose of governing the universe. In the book of Job, chapter 38, verses 31 through 36, can you bind the chains of Pleiades or loose the band of Orion? Can you bring forth the Mazzaroth, the constellations in their seasons? Can you guide Arcturus with his sons, the bear with her cubs? We're talking about star constellations here. Do you know the ordinances of heaven? Can you establish their rule upon the earth? Can you raise your voice to the clouds so an abundance of water may cover you? Can you send the lightning bolt on its way? Do they say to you, here we are? Who has put wisdom in the inward parts, in the mind? Who has given understanding to the heart and to the mind? Page 88. These are Yahweh's helpers, as Lucifer also was, to whom Yahweh gave the great powers they needed in order to perform the offices that He had placed them in. Notice again what Yahweh said in Job 38, verse 32. Arcturus with his sons. The Hebrew word ben has been translated as sons in the English version and means a son as a builder of the family name. It is the same Hebrew word that is used for the son of any father, as in the following verse, which shows that the sons of Yahweh shouted for joy because of the works of their father's hand. In Job 38, verse 7, it says, when the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of Yahweh shouted for joy. So you can see this rejoicing because, they see this great plan of Yahweh, this great work of Yahweh, and realize that, like when Yahweh said in Genesis, He made these things and it was right. It was beneficial. So who didn't shout for joy when they found out about the house of Yahweh? I mean, we shouted for joy when we found out about, man, praise Yahweh. You mean to tell me that Yahweh's His name and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you probably lost sleep trying to read the material. You probably let me get all of these books. You can only get 3 at a time. What? 3? All right, well, let me get these 3. And they got there. You're already filling out for the next 3 before you even finish reading those 3 just to keep them coming. If you had to ride the bus, I'm speaking about me because I know this is what I did and I'm not the only one. But when I was riding the bus to work, I was reading the information. On my lunch break, reading the information. On my way home, reading the information because I rejoiced in knowing my Father and the things that He was doing. Because I had no clue what Yahweh was doing. I had no clue about the plan of Yahweh and the life that He wants to provide for all of creation forever. Not wondering if the galaxy is going to collapse. No, it's not going to collapse in on itself. It's going to go on forever. People are going to have jobs forever. So, these are the things that we get excited about, knowing the planet, knowing Yahweh and knowing these things. And so I can see why the stars rejoice, the Malachim rejoice. But the stars of Malachim sang and they were rejoicing together in this great event, this wonderful accomplishment of setting the planets in their eternal motion. You see, Pastor told them right there, the scientists that's listening there, the planets are in their eternal motion. The planets and the stars aren't going to come back together because the Gorilla Glue wore out. Okay, it's going to go on forever. And Arcturus and his sons were some of these stars who sang. These Malachim rejoiced. But Arcturus is a giant fixed star. And you see the question mark there? He's about to explain these things. It is true that Arcturus is a giant fixed star. It was established by Yahweh and placed in a certain position in the visible heaven where it can bring certain benefits to the earth. Now, please remember, Genesis 1:1 shows us that Yahweh created the heavens, the visible heavens, and the earth. The celestial bodies He created and placed in the heavens were made to serve the earth. In Genesis 1:14, Yahweh said, let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark the feast and for days and years. Ask any gardener or farmer who truly knows about planting seasons, or get a farmer's almanac, and you will learn that the moon, the sun, and planets have a great effect on the earth in many aspects, including the planting seasons. And we know these things, so I don't really have to get into detail concerning that. But we know that all of the things that are, that are around the earth, Yahweh has placed them there to be a benefit to the earth. And Pastor has several questions here. We wrote down several questions. Does this giant star sit vacant? Does it have powers of its own? Does it stay fixed in place? A physical object all under its own power. So does it stay fixed in place, a physical object all under its own power? To think so is ridiculous. But there are beings who are sitting in control of these bodies in heavens for man's benefit. Notice the following verse again in Job 38 verse 32. Can you bring forth the Mazzaroth, the constellations in their seasons? Can you guide Arcturus with his sons, the bear with her cubs? Can you do it? This is what he was saying to Job. Can you do these things? Have you been placed in these positions to do these things? And what was his response towards the end? Wow, I spoke about things that were great, things that I didn't even understand. Okay? Same thing with the world today. They're looking at things that they don't even understand. They're trying to figure them out. But here you see the man that gained the wisdom was the man that was listening to a man of Yahweh as well. Okay? Pointing these things out the way that Yahweh set them up. And this is how we know these things, because we're sitting at the feet of the man that Yahweh sent to bring forth this understanding. It says here, please notice the phrase, in their seasons. The word seasons is the Hebrew word number 6256 in the Hebrew dictionary of Strong's exhaustive concordance, and means, and you see here it says time, evening, long, season, time, or when. This Hebrew word comes from word number 5703, which means duration in the sense of advance or perpetuity, eternity, everlasting, evermore, perpetually, plus world without end. And 5703 comes from 5710, and it means to advance or to pass on or to continue. Now, with these meanings in mind, please notice the word translated Mazzaroth in Job 38 verse 32, which is word number 4216 in the Hebrew dictionary, and it means, it shows that it's also from 5144, in the sense of distinction, some noted constellation. And notice the word zodiac there, because all of these things Pastor's pointing out, he's pointing out for a reason for us to understand basically how these Malachim became gods and how man served creation rather than the creator and so on. I just kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but I wanted to place that in your mind just so as we're going through these words, you will see certain things are linked there. But it says zodiac and constellations and so on. Word number 4216 from 4208 means, which from 5140, in the sense of reigning, a constellation, zodiac sign, as affecting the weather or planet. And then it says compare 4216, but it's not over here. But did you notice some of those things? It says like raining and things like that. And you will notice that when you study out the gods and the history of the gods and so on, you'll see that the people worshiped and they prayed to the gods for rain, for the blessing on agriculture. They prayed for different things. And you'll see how they didn't pray to Yahweh. They didn't pray to Yahweh, but they prayed to the various gods. And even in these planets here, and we should have time to cover these things, but even to the planets, they worship the planets. Like Venus, if I'm not mistaken, is the god of love, or Mars, the god of war. They called upon these gods to to bestow their blessing or their powers upon them so that they can, perform certain acts. Okay, and there's lots and lots of gods and lords and so on. But continue here on page 90. This is not speaking of affecting the weather in the visible heavens. Remember, the visible heavens were created and put in their places to benefit the earth and mankind, whom Yahweh is producing in his own image and likeness. Therefore, these planets and stars are made as factories, so to speak, for the purpose of performing certain functions or producing certain byproducts. And thinking about that, I remember something was shown here in the house years and years and years ago. I think I might be wrong on the year, but I think it was in the late 90s. But there was a scientist, and he was explaining, I think it was a white dwarf star, or white star, something like that. But he says that it produces, I'm about to butcher, I think anyway, it produces something that the earth only gets from this white star. Okay, and so the earth is dependent upon this particular type of a star to receive this this benefit. And I wanted to say like fluorine, but I don't know if that's right or not. It just popped in my mind, but I remember seeing it, and I have to go back and remember what it was or do the research. But, you know, everything that the earth needs isn't necessarily provided by the earth, and that's my point here. That's Pastor's point, you know, showing you that Yahweh created these things for us, for our benefit. And a lot of things that are in the heavens are for the benefit of mankind. So continuing on, there are also homes for the Malachim that have been given power to run them to keep the earth's benefits coming continually and forever. Notice again the meaning of the words 5703 and 5710. And it says duration in the sense of advance or perpetuity, eternity, everlasting or evermore, perpetually, world without end, and also to advance or to pass on or continue. So these heavenly bodies are named after the beings that operate them. It is these beings or some of their helpers that the ancient astronomers learned to contact for extra, unneeded, and undeserved benefits. They turned to these beings in God worship, for it was these beings, these fallen Malachim, who became powerful gods. So how and why the Malachim who became gods were worshipped? Yahweh created the Malachim as free moral agents like he did mankind, desiring that they would always choose to do righteousness. They, like mankind, are not ruled or guided with an iron fist, nor restrained from certain activities at this time. They all have responsibilities, and they even have time off from their jobs, as shown in the time of King Solomon, when the kingdom of Yahweh was in operation on earth. But see, it shows that they have responsibilities. Okay, they have responsibilities. And when you really consider the plan of Yahweh, you know, when we really consider the plan of Yahweh, we actually have a moral obligation. We have a responsibility to become like Yahweh. Okay, and that's why we were created. We were created. Let me go to Psalms chapter 82. But we were created for a specific reason. Oh, it's right here. I'm flicking through the pages and my left hand was on there. Page 467, I'll just read it and it'll get straight to the point. It says, Yahweh's judgment against Satan, the goddess of this world. Yahweh stands in the assembly of the gods, and he gives judgment among the gods. Yahweh says, how long will you defend the unjust and show partiality to the sinners? You should defend the weak and fatherless. You should maintain the rights of the poor and oppressed. You should rescue the poor and needy and deliver them from the hands of the wicked. You know nothing, you understand nothing, you walk about in darkness, and all the foundations of the earth are shaken because of you. You know, and do we see that in these last days? You know, just looking at the physical aspect, do we see the earth shaking to and fro? You know, that's because of sin. Okay, that's because of sin. That's because we're not choosing to keep the laws of Yahweh. And so the diseases, the sicknesses that are being created because of our poor choices, it has caused the earth to be defiled. And so we're seeing earthquakes in place after place. We're seeing the famines. We're seeing the earth, you know, going through the drought, and all of the things that Yahweh inspired to be written in the Holy Scriptures come to pass. Because why? Because we are not listening to Yahweh. Okay? We're not listening to Yahweh. And there's so many aspects of that, you know, and I can't even get into it, but here he's like, you're not even teaching people how to take care of one another, how to even have mercy and compassion for one another. You're not even doing that. So what did he say? You can actually add Genesis 1:26 there. Because you're not doing these things, I'm going to make mankind in my image according to my likeness, and they will have rulership over all of the works of my hands. Okay? Mankind will do this. Not all of man, but those who can actually look and see the benefit of what Yahweh is teaching. Those free moral agents who will be as Moshe did, see the invisible one, and leave Egypt, the wealth of this world, and actually say, you know, I will suffer right now for a place in your kingdom, Father Yahweh. I will suffer right now for a place in your kingdom because I know I will have eternal life there. And not only will I have eternal life, but I'll also be able to help others have eternal life. That's more to me than all of the gold on earth. Okay? Who's willing to do that? You know, praise Yahweh. You know, there are people that are willing to do that. and then they come to Yahweh's house. And then we learn exactly what it is we need to do to be a blessing to all of creation. And so we won't have to hear Yahweh say, you know nothing, you walk about in darkness, you understand nothing. Okay, Yahweh saying, behold, this is my son whom I am well pleased. Now we're going to hear those things if we apply our minds to acquiring the knowledge of Yahweh, and not just acquiring the knowledge of Yahweh, but allowing it to have its perfect work in us, developing within us the character of Yahweh. Okay, and when we can do that, then the end will come. Then the end will come. And this is the message that we're being taught from the great witness. Okay, but are we ready for that? Well, we're seeing the world come. We're seeing different things take place in the world. And Yahweh is allowing us to still have time to develop his character within us. Praise Yahweh for his mercy. Because these things could have actually been let loose, 2006. Completely let loose in 2006. Here we are, 2013. Still having the time to overcome sin. Yahweh is extremely merciful and compassionate. But let's continue reading here. But I just wanted to point out that it is our responsibility to become like Yahweh. So it's up to us to own up to that. And I think it's interesting, it just popped in my head, the law concerning the priests, they have to bear the responsibility of the sins of the people, right? And that's what we're learning how to do. Teach righteousness so that this sin won't be upon anyone. Okay, but it's up to the priest to teach righteousness. And it's up to the people to listen to the priest and correct the sin in their lives, or to correct the poor choices, and apply this knowledge that's given from the house of Yahweh in their lives, so that in turn they can do the same thing. Then teach their children, then their children can do the same thing, going on and on and on. And remember, what's the last enemy that's going to be destroyed? Do you remember what that is? Death. Really? What brings death? Sin. What is sin? The breaking of Yahweh's law. So you see how it's such a simple process to understand. If we're teaching righteousness from generation to generation and sin is eliminated, then death is eliminated. When people apply the laws of righteousness in their life, when they apply the laws of life in their life, then you will have life. That's a lot of life. It's eternal life. Continuing on here. It says, but not all Malachim used their powers solely for the purpose that Yahweh had given it to them. Yahweh doesn't reveal all of those who went astray, but he does show that 1/3 of them followed Lucifer in her rebellion. In Revelations chapter 12, verses 3-4. And there appeared another wonder in heaven. Okay, I'm going to try to read this without singing a song. All right? I'm going to try to read it without singing a song, because I've heard it a lot here recently. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. It's almost impossible to do right now. And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon her head. And her tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to be delivered, in order to devour her son as soon as he was born. And so I'm not going to get into detail with that, because we've heard a lot about it. And guess what? There's going to be a lot more information brought concerning Revelations chapter 12. So continue to pay close attention to the witness Israel in these last days, and we're going to learn a lot more concerning these things. And hopefully we'll be able to read all of the scriptures without singing them, because I'm pretty sure there'll all be songs here pretty soon. Another apostle wrote that there are many gods in 1 Corinthians 8:5. For even though there are many called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, as there are many gods, Elohim, and many lords. So again, there's many things that can be worshipped. There are many things that are raised up as gods. Even mankind, some men have raised themselves up to be gods, and things to be admired or honored or worshipped, instead of actually honoring and worshiping and serving Yahweh. This same one was inspired to write that the world is held in bondage to sin due to the deception of the gods. In Galatians 4, chapter 8, but then indeed, when you did not know Yahweh, you were in bondage to that which by nature are nothing but gods. These things that Yahweh have created and actually have given Malachim rulership over, to govern and make sure that, that things are abundantly supplied. We just read over here, like, certain planets where Yahweh placed Malachim to make sure that, you make sure that this always works. This is your job right here. Stand in your place. Have we ever heard that before? This is your job. Stand in your place. Oh, Yahweh, I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, well, you don't want to make sure that the sun is like continually to, fueling itself to make sure that, it lights the earth and do this and that. Well, Yahweh, I need a vacation. I need a couple days off. Well, all life is basically needing you to do your job. Well, they're going to have to wait. Can you imagine this attitude? I'm just not going into work. No call, no show. Can you imagine a no call, no show on the sun and it just goes dark? What's going to occur to us if there was a no call, no show on the sun? I'm getting a little out there with it, but I'm just think about, how important it is for us to be obedient to Yahweh and then being responsible for whatever job that he gives us. Think about this. What if no one ever collected the garbage on the face of the earth? Think about that. Think about the smell. Think about the rats. Because someone's going to do it. The rats are going to come do it. You don't take out the garbage in your house. Rats, roaches, flies, gnats, whatever. Everything has a job. Everything has a job and everything enjoys its job, or should. We need to learn how to enjoy what it is that Yahweh has allowed us to do. It's a blessing. What if no one ever cleaned the toilet? It's a blessing to clean a toilet. It's a blessing to clean toilets. And I'm not trying to get like disgusting or anything like that, but if we didn't do just these basic things like cleaning, do you know the sickness and disease that was spread? So we should rejoice when we clean Yahweh's house. We should rejoice. We should do it with all diligence, not looking to see if anyone's looking at us and try to sweep something under the carpet or something. I know we don't have carpet right there, but you know what I'm saying. Don't sweep it under the table. Get it up. Get it up. Work with all of your heart, soul, and might. Serve Yahweh in that capacity, knowing that, I'm serving Yahweh. I'm being a blessing to my brother. Every time you do any work in the house of Yahweh, you're learning how to preserve life. If you really think about it, any and everything that you learn how to do in the house of Yahweh, whether you're straightening up chairs, how do you save a life by straightening up a chair? Well, you're learning how to serve. Sweeping the floor, you're saving a life. Yeah. Cleaning the toilet, you're saving a life. Yes, everything that we do, we're learning how to save a life. We're learning how to preserve life. And I don't have a lot of time to really get into that. That's something you can think about. Anytime you do something in the house of Yahweh, think about it. Man, I'm actually helping someone right now. I'm actually saving a life right now, because you are. You're building within yourself a character that's learning how to consider someone else other than yourself as well. And building that in yourself, it's going to help you in the larger things that Yahweh gives you. So you won't be a no call, no show if you're, given authority over the sun or over something else. You're going to be mindful of the fact that, I need to make sure that I do whatever it is that Yahweh needs me to do so that someone else can enjoy their life. If you were sent to go take out the trash, do it with joy. Everything that we need to do, we have to set our hearts and our minds in doing these things with great joy. Continue reading here. It says, with this in mind, we will read about some of those who turned in worship to these fallen Malachim, who became powerful gods. And these were the ones who didn't set their mind on serving others. We see that within mankind as well. When we grow tired or weary of serving someone else and we think about ourselves, we start doing things that will, that we think will benefit ourselves. But according to the plan of Yahweh, these things are truly detrimental. It doesn't matter if you acquire a lot of wealth. Like Pastor just said recently, what is this wealth if you're not using it for the work of Yahweh? Consider the work of Yahweh. Why do we have the work of Yahweh? It's to call people to life. So if these things are just for you, it's detrimental because you're not building the character of Yahweh within yourself. Here in 2 Kings 23 verse 5, it says, he expelled the pagan priests ordained by the kings of Yada to burn incense on the high places of the cities of Yada and on those around Jerusalem. Those pagan priests who burned incense to Baal, to the sun, to the moon, to the constellations of all the hosts of heaven. So remember what we read in Romans chapter 1. They served creation rather than the Creator. Okay, they served creation instead of serving Yahweh. Okay, they realize the benefits of rain. They recognize the benefits of the sun and the moon. So, moon, great moon, blah, blah, blah. What is that? Okay, it's a created thing. Yahweh created the moon to be a benefit. So, why not go to the source of all power? Like Yahweh said, I am the source, there is no other. I've created these things. But again, mankind want to rationalize in his mind and reason within his own mind, well, I don't believe in that. There was an explosion in space and, I used to be a tadpole. Ridiculous, as Pastor said. This is ridiculous. I'm running out of time here. I want to read this. I'll read this last paragraph here. It says that these priests were not worshiping celestial bodies, but rather the gods who inhabited them. This is exactly what the Hebrew word translated constellation shows us. In reading from the Hebrew English Lexicon by Brown, Driver, and Briggs on page 561, we find, and there's a part where, right there where it says station, abode of the gods. It's about the third sentence down right there. Okay, the abode of the gods. And then at the very bottom there it says worship. So we can see that just like in the example earlier, how, the planet Mars, if I'm not mistaken, is the god of war, or Venus, the goddess of love, and all of these different planets have their gods and what their, the blessings or the benefits that they're supposed to be able to bestow upon mankind. Man worship these things and serve them and pray to them, asking for these gifts, these benefits, so that they can use them selfishly. Why would you call upon a god of war? So that you can murder your brother. Now, is there any place for you in the kingdom of Yahweh if you're calling upon a god of war so that you can murder your brother? No, there's not. There's not. And the scriptures show that true love is learning to keep Yahweh's laws and doing these things without it being a burden. Okay, that's love. Everything else, as the pastor has taught us in the past, they use the word love even in situations where it's not. Like when one of the sons of David, he loved his sister so much that he raped her. It doesn't say rape, but the story that I'm talking about. That wasn't love. Then it said he hated her with the same love that he had for her. It wasn't love. He was lusting after his sister. He was lusting after something that wasn't his. But see, love is the keeping of Yahweh's laws. And I got into that just to show you, this false understanding of creation. They don't know Yahweh, and so they try to do things, and then they end up failing miserably. We all been there. Okay, we've all done that. We all thought that the gods were beneficial. But now in the house of Yahweh, knowing Yahweh, we see that there's not a benefit to serving the gods. There's only death. And the only way that we'll have life is if we completely turn to Yahweh with our whole hearts and then develop Yahweh's character within ourselves. May Yahweh bless your understanding, and we'll close right there on page 91, and then kind of pick up on page 92 next week. Praise Yahweh. Let's go ahead and close in prayer. Most holy and righteous Father Yahweh, this is your servant, Kohan Yisrayl Hawkins, coming to you in unity with all of your men here, Father. All of us being seized of your last days anointed witness, our great pastor and overseer in these last days, Kohan Yisrayl Hawkins, assumed by the authority of our righteous high priest, who now sits at your right hand, Yahshua our Messiah. Father, we do bless you and thank you, Father, for giving us this great understanding of knowing who you are and continuing to learn who you are, Father, and of this great plan. And we do pray, Father, that you will continue to reveal yourself to us through this great message, Father, which you are teaching only at your house. For truly, the Apostle Shaul was inspired to write that your righteousness is revealed in this message through the teaching of your laws and your ordinances, your statutes. By knowing these things, Father Yahweh, we can truly see you and the great love that you have for all life. So we ask, Father Yahweh, that you will continue to place these things within us so that we can be like you, Father Yahweh, in all areas of our life. We do love you. We do ask for your protection and for your guidance both now and forever. And pray and ask that you will inspire us daily. In Yahshua Messiah's name we do pray and ask all of these things. Hallelujah, Yahweh. Praise Yahweh. Yahweh bless you.